up, everybody? Peace to the star family. This is Michael with One Sky, and this month is a very exciting lunar video. We're going to look at the new moon on December 26th, 2019, right before New Year, the last new moon of 2019, the cycle that welcomes in 2020. This cycle is going to see Pluto and Saturn conjunct, exact. And it's a very exciting cycle with some really beautiful markers of good fortune and a lot of reason for hope and optimism. And at the same time, very ominous, very interesting, going to be interesting to watch. So, let's jump right into this chart. The new moon is in Sagittarius. So here's the sun and moon conjoined in Sag. If anybody thought that I was going to say it's in Capricorn, or maybe people might think this is happening somewhere else in the sky, but I'm using the actual stars, the real positions of the actual constellations in the sky, just as if you were looking through a telescope at the night sky. So we're not using a zodiac like the tropical or the Vedic zodiac. We're using true sidereal astrology. So the signs are different, and for more information on that, check out True Sidereal Astrology. Check out 13 Sign Astrology, and that's a beautiful rabbit hole. But welcome to this new moon chart. December 26th sees the sun and moon conjoined in Sag, also a degree away from Jupiter, and also in degree of conjunction with Mercury and the galactic center. Now, already that's a lot, but when we bring in this 1 degree trine to Uranus and square to Chiron, we really see an activated sun and moon. Now it's activated not only by relationships, and we'll talk about the nature of those relationships, but it's activated by proximity to the galactic center, and it's activated especially because Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius. It rules the constellation, and the energies are associated. The energies of Jupiter are the energies of Sagittarius. There's so much overlap that it's an ancient and a time-tested correlation. So Jupiter here is very strong, very empowered. And in trine to Uranus, that's exciting, it's expansive, it's going to open up doors, it's going to move things, things are going to make progress. Jupiter loves to build in the areas of being the teacher, being the preacher. Jupiter is the philosopher and the guru. So this activation of Jupiter is really going to be concerned with beliefs. This activation in Sag is really going to be concerned with beliefs and worldview. These are going to be the themes of this next cycle. This is going to stamp everything really intensely, because not only is all of that with Jupiter, the moon, the sun, galactic center, and Mercury in degree of conjunction to the new moon. But we also have Pluto and Saturn here, like I said, going to be conjoined exactly this lunar cycle. And we have Ketu hanging out in really what's an orb of conjunction to this new moon. That's what makes it an eclipse, when Rahu or Ketu, the north node or south node, ascending node or descending node, the lunar nodes, when they come into contact with a new moon or a full moon, That's when we experience eclipse. So Jupiter's here. He's empowered. He's at home. He's at his very lucky, optimistic. He believes in himself. He's empowered. It's like The Secret, but it's better because The Secret is really questionable material. That's a whole other topic. But this is about manifesting. This is about having a vision and really seeing it very clearly, so clearly, and believing in it that you become empowered to generate it, to create it. It's concerned with liberation and vision. It's concerned with religious ideas. If anything, Jupiter's downside and Sagittarius' downside is it can be a little bit judgmental, a little preachy, and can overreach. It can overreach. I kind of hope for too much. Too much vision, not enough grounded. Jupiter's a little bit with its head in the clouds, not so much with its feet on the ground. So these are the energies. This is the stamp, the new moon. Major Sagittarius activation. We have as much going on in Sagittarius this month for the new moon as we do in the rest of the chart. And that's the sun, which is 99% of the mass in the solar system. Jupiter and Saturn, which are far and away the two most massive planets. A lot of the mass of the solar system, the force of the solar system, a lot of the waves and energy that we experience in this planetary way is coming directly from the stars of Sagittarius, which impart all of this that we've been talking about with Jupiter and Sag. A lot of empowerment, a lot of optimism, a lot of faith, a lot of guidance, a lot of open doors, especially when you get Uranus here in Aries and Jupiter together in trine. You have a lot of new opportunity, exciting time. Things can just happen. Very cool. The new moon in Sagittarius and the full Gemini moon are both eclipses. So it is official. It's eclipse season. I would expect things to get a little stirred up, and I would hope that everybody has wrapped up any of the really exciting developments that happened in the last eclipse season, especially with all these cycles where the personal planets were very close together. A lot of personal growth work, a lot of an extended Virgo phase of self-improvement. And now if you look at what's happening, all of these planets have moved through the idealism of Libra and the trial and the depth and transformation of Scorpio to turn that poison into the medicine of a fucus and experience the galactic center's rebirth into expansive Sagittarius. And what's happening with Mercury right now as it comes to conjoin the galactic center has happened to Jupiter. So Jupiter, as well as Venus, which has made that journey recently, the sun and moon have just recently made that journey. As I'm making this video, the sun is right on the galactic center. And all of this energy of expansive new birth, new beginning, visionary, sky's the limit kind of first glimpse before you fix things, before we get our ideas and we work ourselves into what we think we're going to do. It's that first glimpse, the tabula rasa, the blank slate where anything can happen. That's that opening degrees of Sagittarius. So everything coming through this just recently is informed by these last couple cycles, these last series of transits since the last eclipse season, and this new moon starts the next one. So with that, let's look at the full moon chart because it's an interesting chart. The full moon on January 10th, 2020 is going to take place here exactly conjoined to Mercury. So Mercury will be combust and we're going to have an opposition to the moon in Gemini. Now, Jupiter and Sagittarius tend to diminish Gemini, diminish Mercury. Jupiter and Sag tend to, that's it's kind of weakened Mercury. Weakened Mercury's, effect, its good effect. And we also see really strong T-squares here up to Eris in the degree of Pisces. Now, not only that, but Eris has stationed direct, if you notice. And so that's going to be a really heavy stamp. It's going to be a stamp of work. It's going to be a stamp of effort. And it's going to be a stamp that, with those squares, might be subject to some significant degree of chaos. Chaos, maybe the unexpected. Definitely, this might break a pattern. We may see, with Uranus stationed direct in that close degree, we do see Uranus and Eris technically conjoined. That's a conjunction, and they're both stationed direct. So I would expect the unexpected. I would expect that this is about as chaotic and unruly an influence as I could imagine, actually. So, as it pertains to a full moon, So that's interesting. And then 2 days later, we have Pluto and Saturn. 2 days later, we have Pluto and Saturn here in the 25th degree of constellation Sag, and they are exactly conjoined with the Sun in the 24th degree of constellation Sag. So the Sun is coming to join, and so is Mercury in the 25th degree. And what we have is this Sun who's just past this major conjunction with Jupiter and the Moon for the new moon, and is coming into this major conjunction with Pluto-Saturn. And I'm not going to make any predictions, but when Pluto conjoins to a powerful outer planet, things change. Not like instantly. It's not a major event that I would expect to witness on the 12th of January. But what I want to say about Pluto conjunctions to a force like Saturn is that last time Pluto conjoined to a major planet was Pluto-Uranus. And when Pluto and Uranus, rebellious, eccentric, weird, freedom-loving Uranus, conjoined to Pluto, there was just a powerful social shift, and the movement of the 60s, in a word, came to be. That was Pluto and Uranus. Before that, and Pluto and Neptune came together, but that was in 1899, and Carl Jung was a forerunner. He was born in 1875, so about 24 years before Pluto Neptune. But Carl Jung had his moon in between Pluto and Neptune. Each of those bodies was conjoined his moon, although they weren't conjoined each other. And by 1892, when that was, I'm sorry, I said 1899, but that was exact in 1892. Excuse me. What we see is the Celtic revival in Ireland, the magical Renaissance all over Europe, the birth of depth psychology and dream work, all of these Neptunian themes. You see people who have that conjunction really activated in their chart, like Tolkien was born with it at the very top, the zenith of his chart. Agatha Christie was born with a Moon, Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune conjunction grand trine. Very, very activated in her chart. Aldous Huxley, born in 1894. And the Theosophists came around and began to promote all kinds of Neptunian, in that they were fantastic, exaggerated, delusional ideas about Tibet, about mentalism, about magic, mysticism, hypnotism, all of this. It was just sweeping wave. And now I want to say that Uranus and Neptune are not like Saturn in that they're outer planets. Uranus takes 88 years to traverse its course around the sun, and Saturn takes 29. So Saturn is like interpersonal. It's like half personal, half generational. It has to do with how we organize ourselves into structures. It has to do with conservatism. It's concerned with maintaining. This is like in Vedic, it's very like Vishnu. Saturn is very much the preserver of things. With Saturn, you do see long-term effects, and the positive side of Saturn, which I think is going to be activated by its closeness to the sun. Not only by closeness to the sun, which is a great benefic and a blessing giver, but by its home and its influence by the stars of Sagittarius with Jupiter at home, which is also a great benefic influence. It's very likely, even eclipses and Eris squares aside, it's likely to bring out the positive side of Saturn, which is very hardworking. It's industrious. It builds. It likes patience, perseverance. It's very level-headed, very, very grounded and pragmatic energy. And like I said, this is a conservative influence that has to do with the way we organize ourselves into structures. Social structures, personal structures. In Sagittarius, especially religious, philosophical structures, the structures that we organize our worldview into. And with that said, one thing I do want to touch on is the South Node Ketu, because all through these cycles, Ketu is playing a role. And here, for the Pluto and Saturn conjunction, we see Ketu, or the South Node of the Moon, conjoined to Jupiter. And this is the eclipse point, where the orbit of the Moon meets the orbit of the planets around the Sun, that plane. And so when those match up, eclipse. So in a way, Jupiter is dealing with South Node Ketu, and that can really accentuate karma. It can really accelerate karma. If you have anything to serve here, as far as karma around teaching, around philosophy and beliefs, around being guidance, or a paternal or a guru figure for anyone, this is really likely to shake that up. This is really likely to shake that up, and with Chiron squares, we're connected to the energy of healing. So it might be a little challenging, but it's really for the better, for the psychological progress that Chiron indicates. And of course, it's always good to work with the past in a constructive way, to release the hold it may have on us and the weight it may present to us. And Jupiter remains trine to Uranus through the whole last cycle, this Scorpio cycle that the Sun and Moon went through with that last new moon before this cycle, the one that started in Scorpio. Jupiter and Uranus have been trine for the entirety of the last month. By the time we get to January 12th, it'll be about a month and a half. And that's exciting. The Sun will spend the rest of this lunar cycle moving through Sagittarius, and the next new moon is going to be at about 4 degrees, just inside the cusp, in the stars of Capricorn proper. So Saturn is also heavily activated, which is actually, I think, a good thing, because Jupiter in Sag can really be a lot. It can really go hard. It can get excited, and it can overstep. It can misspeak. It can be very judgy too. It can be very judgy in Sagittarius. And with Saturn there, this reels that all back in. This brings a constrictive influence, and it kind of balances that tendency to be too much. So I think on the whole, the energies of this cycle are balanced, because too much Sag, too much of anything would be undesirable. So with this heavy placement in Sag, we do have Saturn here, which is like the antidote to too much Jupiterian energy. And we will see how things play out. I think that this is a cycle that's going to signal some major change. I think it may take a while, especially with Saturn, to see that change. But when we look back at this conjunction, which has really been happening for the last 2 years, when we look back, I think we'll see, another kind of paradigm shifting wave that's cresting. It's cresting here on the 12th. It's cresting here in this eclipse cycle, this lunar cycle. Fortunately, it's cresting in beautiful, lucky, excellent, godly Sagittarius, and there are a lot of positive and benefic influences to what would otherwise be an ominous configuration. So maybe a blessing in disguise, maybe something unexpected, like I mentioned, the culmination of this, the full moon, where this fruits. Wow, that looks like anything could happen. That's exciting. But the best way to balance these energies in our personal lives, regardless of what happens in the world, is to bring our vision and our hopes, our dreams, our goals, and our sense of progress, bring that into the everyday world of practical application. With Saturn, we have an opportunity to build. With Saturn, we have an opportunity to carefully place stones. With Saturn's careful patience and precision, to create a structure that will truly last. And with Jupiter, we have a belief in ourselves that we can create our dream, our optimism. That is the stars of Sag. The archer is like twang. It will get its goal. It's very very motivated, very empowered stars. And at the end of the year here, you'll see Jupiter and Saturn moving direct. So not only direct, but they'll be direct and out of their shadow. So planets move through the sky in a way that looks like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And this is often why things happen in cycles and waves that can take a while, take a year, because a planet will move over a point that's activating energies in our lives, and then it'll retrograde and move over it a third time. But when a planet is moving 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it can just go over certain points once. And for the end of the year, Jupiter and Saturn are both in that phase of direct motion outside of their old shadow and before their next one. So it could be a really activated time. It could be a really activated time because you get all these short bursts. You get these short Jupiter hits because Jupiter's moving through the sky at its fastest. So it's like bang, 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 bam. Just hitting on stuff, and it won't back up over it. It won't hit it again. So it's just a one-off. You get the whole package in one quick drop. And there's no drawn out process like, this might take a year to sort out. It's like boom. And with Jupiter, that can be blessings, open doors, excellence. It can be all kinds of good fortune and support. Depends on Jupiter in your own personal natal chart. And with Saturn, it can be the opportunity to stabilize things. It can be the opportunity to build, to grow, to develop discipline. Sometimes we use Saturn. Sometimes we use Saturn energy to wait. Saturn is patience, so knowing our moment, kind of using our main tool instead of the others. And that about wraps this up, my friends. That is all I want to say on the subject of this lunar cycle. It'll take us until late January, at which time we'll have a new moon in Capricorn. Till then, my friends, be well. I thank you for watching.